Welcome back to the podcast.
The clock is ticking. Having a startup was never a goal of mine.
What was it like going to MIT?
Well, I tricked them into letting me go there. So
How did you do that?
I had massive imposter syndrome. I look over my shoulder and I'm like, who's gonna do that? Well, me, I guess.
What was it like for you in the beginning when you were at my stage starting the startup?
When we first started this startup journey, I thought a lot about do I seem like a good enough founder? I do think we maybe burned a lot of time worrying about doing things the right way. You're trying to prove you're smart enough.
What if this whole podcast is actually just a setup to match you with someone?
My company is a love letter to the people I'm doing it with and the people that use our product.
What about a more difficult lesson or experience doing a startup?
The whole thing has been difficult.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have my dear friend Alexis here today. She is a founder, creative, musician, artist, inspirational figure. I want to be like her someday. And she's super spontaneous, has this super cool crib. Look at the ambiance. So her. And also the founder and head of product of Focused Space, which is an incredible startup that's creating spaces and communities for being able to structure your dreams and have community spaces where you can get shit done. So I think that's super cool. And what am I missing? Of course, she got her PhD from MIT. And yeah, so today we're going to have a really good conversation around productivity, mental health, startups, everything. Let's just get right into it. Welcome, Alexis.
That might be the best compliment I've ever received. I feel like you truly see me. Thank you.
I got you. But yeah, and now the world can see you too.
Hi.
But yeah, so I think where it would be interesting to start is I think everyone is always a little bit fascinated, whether we admit it or not, with education and learning and intelligence. And one of the biggest names in the education system and also in startup culture, I think, is MIT. So what was it like going to MIT?
Well, I tricked them into letting me go there. So
What? How did you do that?
I got very interested in just interdisciplinary research, and there's very few places where you can smash together a bunch of different disciplines. And I had heard about the Media Lab when I was an undergrad and was just so fascinated by so many of the projects that came out of there, because they seemed to be at the intersection of art, science, engineering, and design. So I really, really wanted to go there. So I applied 1 year, didn't get in. And then I went somewhere else to start a PhD, but I wasn't happy there. And I think because it was much more academic than hands-on. And I realized that I'm somebody that likes making and building things, not just writing papers. So I was going to drop out of that program too, and just do something else. And then I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll just apply to the Media Lab one more time. What can it hurt? And yeah, to my surprise, the second time I applied, I did get in. And so, yeah, that was just kind of life-changing, because I had to go. But I did feel for at least 6 of the years that I was there that I had tricked them into letting me be there. And I had massive imposter syndrome and stuff. But I think that's common for a lot of people that go to grad school.
It's hard for me to understand because you're so cool, obviously. But what was the imposter syndrome around? Or
it's a place where everybody comes from such different disciplines, and so you look around at everything your peers can do. Most of what they can do, you can't do because they're coming from different disciplines. I had, people doing synthetic biology or working on prosthetic limbs or all kinds of stuff that they knew how to do that I didn't know how to do. And so I think it's in an environment like that, it's just easy to feel like you should know all the things that your peers know how to do. Of course, you forget that you're bringing something to the table too. It's pretty easy to forget that. But one of the things I really loved about the Media Lab was there was a real culture of learning from each other and helping each other. Because again, I think, we all get there and we're a little insecure and we feel like we have to prove ourselves and know everything. But then at a certain point you realize like, there's no way I can know all these things. So I have to like ask my classmate for help from their perspective, and they're going to ask me for help. And so people were super generous about sharing their skills and expertise. So it was a real place of learning, and I learned like things way outside of my discipline all the time. And I hope that I also passed on some, design expertise or other things from my background to other people too. But yeah, it was very special in that way. A lot of really generous people.
I think it's interesting how today a lot of people are going straight into startups. They'll drop out of school to just start their own thing. Do you think it was good for you to go to school first and have that time? Or do you think that it would have been different if you had started your startup a lot sooner?
I think, having a startup was never a goal of mine, actually. I'm the type of person who's like driven to work on projects because of, the topic area interests me, or really relationship driven in my collaborations. So like that's how I got into my current startup, is because an old friend of mine, Nadira, our CEO, brought me into it. But no, it wasn't my plan. And I'm generally not like a planner in that way. I just really kind of follow my own interest. I've worked on like many different projects across like medical device design to like cameras for the underwater cameras to like learning technology for kids to focus space. But I think that it's like the values and my design process that kind of connects them all together. So I look for projects that involve a sense of playfulness usually, or a sense of making technologies more accessible to non-experts is something that's important to me. So yeah, there's certain commonalities between all my projects, even though they are from different places. So it's a long way of saying like, I'm not the kind of person that lives with any regret at all about how my life has gone. I just kind of feel like everything I've done has contributed in some way to the skills I have now. So yeah, I just think like a learning approach, no matter where you are, is probably what led me to here. And now I'm learning how to do a startup too, because that's new for me too. So we're in the same boat.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What do you love about doing a startup?
I love that the distance between having an idea and doing something about it is really short. There's not a lot of like bureaucracy, and you kind of have to, like, the clock is ticking. You have to. So I love it when Nadira and I will have an idea on Monday, and by like Thursday or Friday, we've implemented it in some way or another, maybe in like a, prototype type way. But I really love that about it. That's one thing.
What about a more difficult lesson or experience doing a startup?
I mean, the whole thing has been difficult. We've been at it for 4 years now, I think. And it's like gone through a series of phases, and each one is hard. Even with, if I like look back to the very beginning, I'm so proud of where we are now, but like every phase brings new problems. So I think it's like just the recognition that like the work is never done. We're always on the, the brink of it not working out, and then somehow we pull it off and get to the next stage. So I think for me, what's been tough is just like learning how to handle uncertainty emotionally and, mentally and physically, because it's quite stressful. I think I'm getting pretty good at it, but I don't know if that's just like some kind of like effect where you become numb to it, because it's just like you've been rolling on uncertainty for several years.
It probably rewires.
Maybe, I wonder that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way you think or the way you do things.
Have you noticed that at all in doing your startup? Like any rewirings or anything like that?
Girl, this is such a good question. We have to switch places. I think so, but I think it's also how I'm also wired beforehand is what pushed me into doing this. Maybe for you too, the problem solving, and the challenge. But I think it maybe pushes me into more of an extreme. Like, I think I'm always thinking about problems and how to solve them. And so sometimes I'm afraid I'm going to be a little bit more pessimistic, because I'm always looking for problems. I'm always looking for gaps, and I'm always trying to solve it. But then at some point I have to think, okay, it's time to move away from the problem and try to move towards a solution. What about you?
Yeah, I think now that you're saying it, I do think like, even though I said that I never intended to do a startup, and I think that's true, I think it makes total sense why I'm doing it now. And it does, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I think I'm kind of like made for this in some way, because it does, at least at the very early stage, it requires you to wear so many different hats and learn so many different things that you
Mm.
don't know how to do. You're always at the edge, or at least I'm always at the edge of my expertise. And, every week I'm like, oh, I wish I knew how to do this better, but I got to learn. Yeah, I think creativity, a sense of why not try, all those things I think, were part of my personality before doing this. I
Yeah.
love the fast pace of it, actually. I love the spontaneity. I love pulling ideas from everywhere. And I love collaborative design. So, now that we have a team and we have people using our products, I'm like so happy to be able to talk about ideas and get ideas from lots of different sources and,
Mm.
respond to what our members want us to add. Like, all that stuff it's very rewarding too, because I do design work in service of helping people and solving their challenges. And that's been, through all my projects, but it's very meaningful now that we have like a lot of people using our product. So.
Mm. What was it like for you in the beginning when you were at my stage starting the startup? And where do you think you are now? Or like, what's changed in between starting your startup to now? What lessons have you learned? Because even for me, I feel like how could I possibly go through everything I'm going through and not change? I have to change to keep up. So
I did not know what I was doing at all. I think we did a lot of things. Well, I don't know. It's like we're still alive. We're still here. So I'm not going to say we did anything like wrong. We learned from everything. But I do think like we maybe burned a lot of time worrying about doing things the right way. And I think at the time, of course, there was like such a sort of established playbook for how startups should be, as women founders, we would, look out at like all the people doing Y Combinator and be like, okay, well, how do we contort ourselves into be like that shape and we'll do it like that? Like, they made it seem like there's just like a playbook for doing it. And I think the farther we've gotten into our journey, the more we trust our guts and do things our way and just like kind of deviate from the playbook, the much better results we've had. So I think there was like an aspect to us, we were like sort of wanting to do it the right way because we were like still building our confidence and all of that. And of course now like the economy is completely different. Everything's completely different. So nobody has a playbook anymore. We burned a lot of time trying to follow old patterns when we're in an industry that's supposed to be about doing things differently.
mm.
When I joined Focus Space full time, I was coming right off of finishing my PhD. And, a lot of people like say or think that that's like a big celebratory moment where you're really proud of yourself. Or, I mean, maybe some people are. My self-confidence was super low at the end of spending a decade at MIT and getting my PhD. Like that didn't mean anything to me. Like I had massive imposter syndrome. I think, there's a lot of things about that system that constantly make you feel small, like you're trying to prove you're smart enough. And so the startup has been, even though it's super hard, even though we've done many things that have not worked out and failed, I still feel more confident now than ever before in my life. And I think one of the reasons why is there's just not time to get hung up, or I found there's not time to get hung up in imposter syndrome or doubting myself, because at the end of the day, every day there's like stuff that needs to get done. I look over my shoulder and I'm like, who's gonna do that? Like, well, me, I guess. And I find that like that's brought out the best in me because I don't spend much time worrying anymore. And I think when we first started the startup journey, I thought a lot about like, oh, do I seem like a good enough founder to get investment? Or like, do I look the part? Am I saying the right things? Do I have the skills? Now I think I'm just like killed the part of my brain that looks at myself from an external perspective, for better or worse. But like, I'm just not focused on how
Other people.
No, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I have to do this work. And I believe like I have to have the conviction that I can come up with the right answer. And that doesn't mean that I always have the right answer, but it means that I'm going to figure out how to get the answers that we need to move forward.
I think it's really interesting, and I completely relate, because it's like, instead of worrying about maybe superficial things or how you seem, you just go for the end goal rather than trying to like prove yourself at every milestone.
Yeah, the end goal, and also like I'm a really big like values person. So like if I, every day I try to do right by the people that work for us and just the people I meet in the world, and well, I'm like mentoring or mentors that I have. So those are the things that I pay attention to that matter to me. There's a quote that this yoga teacher I really like said once, and she was like, "Oh, like don't focus on what it looks like, focus on what it feels like." And I really like that too. So I'm like, okay, well, if I end a day and I'm like, I can respect myself and look myself in the mirror, know I did my best work, know that I did right by people, then that is truly the best I can do. And I can sleep well tonight.
I love that. I'm soaking it in. What's your take on love? Is that too early to ask?
Oh, it's never too early for love. I love love. Big time lover here. That's actually a really important part of, not to tie everything back to work. But my company is a love letter to the people I'm doing it with and the people that use our product. Truly, I genuinely love. It's like an act, like everything I do there. I'm in a band too. And, I've been making music with my bandmates for over 15 years now. And that is about love for me, love for the people and love for the, the creative magic that we make together. I love so many of my friends so deeply. Friendship is so important to me. No, I think love is the secret ingredient for everything. Yeah.
Okay, but what's your definition of love?
Looking for the best in people is one. Looking for ways to improve their lives in small and little ways, thinking about them when you're out, like you see, a flower that your friend likes, so you take a picture of it and send to them if you can. Little acts. And also just like, since I'm in my late 30s, say that out loud. Sustaining friendships over time takes work too. So like making time to check in and like have longer phone conversations with friends of mine who live in different states over the years, like all of that, I'll put in the category of love.
What about how you like to be loved? Or
I am a little bit of a like march to the beat of my own drum type person. Like I'm like been described as quirky before and other things like that. Yeah, I feel most loved when I'm, with people who aren't trying to change me in any way. And that's something I try to give other people too, like just really accepting people for who they are and all of that.
I feel so good whenever I'm with you. It's amazing.
I love you.
I love you.
But yeah, so I mean, I feel loved too when I feel like I can be myself free and not have to have that like self-critical voice in my head or critical from someone else, like wishing I were different. And then listening to me ramble about like random topics, whether that's like the life cycle of a snail or like my sociological thoughts on Taylor Swift or like whatever, I have like, I'm like I have like a deep researcher kind of mind, and I'll like deep dive into random topics. And like, it's nice when people like listen to me yap about like weird deep dives. I love that.
We'll like edit out this part of the video and just turn it into a video like dating profile.
I could put my phone number at the bottom.
Just like, oh my God, that would be, wait, what if there was like a TikTok app, but it's like for dating? And then what if like this whole podcast is actually just a setup to match you with someone?
You gonna do that for me? That's so sweet.
Of course I would. This whole thing is just to gather intel. And there's actually
no one's ever asked me what my love language is before on a podcast. So now
Yeah, we're
it's
going
all
deep.
making sense. I see your game.
Yeah, and there's like 4 interns in the back right now just analyzing
Hey.
every word that you say. They're flipping through this big book of potential. Sorry. I feel like I'm a kid and I'm pretending to have a podcast, and it's kind of fun.
You're really good at it. If anyone could see all the like different lighting and the chords and stuff and the setup behind the scenes, like it's very professional.
Oh,
So if you are a kid doing a podcast, you're like a super genius kid.
Oh, thank you. I think one of the things that I love most about you is, of course, how accepting and loving you are, and also the way that you can like take something and think about it in an entirely different way. I remember there was that one night I was at the studio and I was kind of having a hard time because of everything that was happening in the startup. And then I had like a couple different thoughts as well, but then you came in and you looked at everything that I was going through, but from a completely different perspective. Like, I think one of the things that you shared with me that night was looking at the startup from a, like, it was kind of like a whole person sort of perspective. So instead of just focusing so hard on the product and what we were making, but thinking about who we're making it for, and not just how they would use it, but all of the other things in their life, the other weird objects they might keep in the back of their mind, or the books they read, the songs they listen to, the friends that they hang out with. So I think it's like so insightful how you can take things and then just take a different camera angle.
Aw.
So yeah.
I'm glad that resonated. I think it's because I'm like a collector or like a researcher and collector of information, and I feel like inside my mind there's like all these different inspirations collected from lots of different worlds, whether that's like pop culture and entertainment, or like politics or literature or art or weird old objects you find in a thrift store. And I also really have this firm belief that everybody does things for a reason. And so like in my attempts to like try to be as compassionate as possible to other people and to myself, I like really like try to understand people and their motivations and desires and, you know, strengths and weaknesses and, you know, hopes and fears and all of that. And so, yeah, when I'm doing product design, I can't help but think about all of the inspirations like on the visual and cultural side, but then also all of the motivations and, you know, what drives people and, you know, what they're really looking for in life. And so those things together kind of inform my approach to design. Mm. You know, in the context of focus space, for example, like we are helping people with like productivity, and I hate that word, and come back to that later, but like, and you know, procrastination and all these things, but underneath all of that are some deeper things. Like procrastination is often really about fear, actually. Like fear of failure, uncertainty and overwhelm about like breaking things down into smaller pieces. There's a lot of like emotional stuff underneath like the things that we see at the surface. A lot of people struggle with productivity because of loneliness and self-doubt and all of these things that you know.
That one's interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, because I can understand the uncertainty part, but the loneliness too.
Yeah, I think like humans are pretty socially motivated creatures. Like that's how we've made it this far in civilization. By cooperating and building things together. So I think a lot of people, if they feel like their work doesn't matter to anybody else or nobody else will care about it, their productivity tanks. And I think that's a challenge that, for example, PhD students really suffer with, because you become this expert in this like really niche topic, and then you have to do it like all alone and nobody cares about it. So it's that's like one group that I think this really applies to. But yeah, I think it's hard to do things alone. And I think in our culture, we have a lot of myths around like the lone genius, or like that you shouldn't need anybody else. But I think because of the way humans are wired, that's simply not true. You know, some people may be really effective in that mode. I'm not saying everybody, but I think for the most part, healthy collaboration and support, and even just like seeing some cheerful, positive faces goes a long way in helping us feel motivated. And that's kind of like the theory behind focus space, is that like working alone sucks. That's kind of what drives our whole thing.
That's amazing. I love that you have good one-liners for everything. It's easy to.
Took us a long time to get there. That's the marketing muscle that I've had to build.
Like taking big, complicated ideas and saying it as it is. Mm-hmm. That's actually really interesting, because I feel like, maybe, I don't know if you feel this way, but for me, I feel like kind of like how we were talking about, we spend so much time thinking about like who we are and all of this stuff, when when you're pressured to, you don't really think about any of those things anymore. But part of it is also maybe like a lot of people are trying to figure out who they are, but at some point maybe it's less about who you are, but also kind of, the Michelangelo sculpture where you're just like taking out the parts to kind of like uncover. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you've been there the whole time. Yeah. It's just maybe accepting or seeing that person there.
I think that's super true. I think a lot about like, who I was as a kid or like a teenager. And I think in some fundamental ways, I like haven't changed that much. Like I was always like kind of playful, and I was always taking on too many projects. And my dad would say like, you're burning the candle at too many ends. And I remember I would skip school in high school, but to go work on the school newspaper, which I was the editor of. So I would skip school, but to do something else that I was working on. So I don't know, there's just some aspects of my personality that are similar to now, but then also I think I always try to balance that with like a growth mindset too. Cause there's in some ways I'm chipping away and I'm the core person that I've always been. And then other ways I've grown and changed a lot. Mm-hmm. So I think it can go both ways. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are you wanting for your next chapter? And where do you feel like you're going? Where do you want to go? I mean, of course, I love you the way you are. I think you should not change at all. please stay the same. But
I think I'm on a constant quest to be as honest with myself as possible. I think my psychology, I tend to I can try to make anything work and adapt to things that happen to me in my life, but then, which I think can be a real strength, accept the world for what it is, not what you wish it was. But then I think sometimes that has led me to downplay the things that I really want, just to kind of fit what seems possible. So yeah, trying to be really honest with myself. Other than that, I kind of love the chapter I'm in life right now. Running a startup in 2025 is no joke, and it's no easy thing. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but I love it. I want to keep doing it. We're, working our asses off to make that possible. I have all this music I want to make. I have all these paintings I want to make. There's just so many things on the art side that I want to do. So I am working on an album for my new band, Double Bitch. And we've recorded 10 tracks, and it's, it's in the mixing phase. It's taking a long time, but I feel right now, all these new songs kind of coming out of me, just as of a week ago, which is oh my God, when the songwriting lightning hits, it's no better drug than that. I love it. But I think it's because I'm in a transition period in my life right now. So all that to say, I'm writing some new tracks right now. And in January, I think I'm going to go to St. Louis to meet up with my bassist, who I write a lot of songs with, and another friend of ours, and just write maybe 3 to 5 songs for an EP that we might just release before the big one. Just get it out there. I feel I want to put together a quick first project for Double Bitch. So that's something I'm thinking about. And yeah, I want to catch that lightning in a bottle. And yeah, no better feeling than when I feel musically inspired. It's my favorite thing to do.
Wow. Where do you get your inspiration from?
Um,
Or does it kind of just hit?
it kind of hits, which is like not the best because like, you know, like with creative practice, like it can be like feel like an excuse to be like, oh, I gotta wait to be inspired, you know, versus like more regular practice to keep inspiration going. But music and songwriting just like happens to be one of those things that like swells up when it does, and it usually has to do when I'm like in a life phase change, or it's like a weird like delayed emotion processing thing. I think like, you know, I've had like an exceptionally crazy last 6 months. Not gonna go into
Exceptionally
it.
crazy.
Yeah, not gonna go into it. Because you wouldn't believe me. Oh, I've been drawing in the evenings. You saw it earlier, but I'm making this big like map with watercolors and colored pencils. I have one of those like just big rolls of craft paper like they have in elementary school on a roll, and I'm just like drawing this long map. I don't know where it's gonna end, but I'll come home. I like look forward to in the evening coming home and adding like a new, like, oh, it's a beach area, or I'm gonna add like a little ice world or a cloud town or something. So that's my like creative thing right now that I'm super excited about. Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh, I'm seeing it now, and it actually looks so cool.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I love it. It's been a
it
fun,
looks
zany
so
project.
realistic, but stylized.
Thanks. That's so yeah. Evenings, I think like trying to wind down in the evenings. And I do often work like late, not as late as you, but late into the evenings because like my role at Focus Space does involve a lot of creative thinking. And so yeah, sometimes in the evenings when I feel more relaxed is like when my creative mind works a little better. So sometimes I'm like can't help but do certain stuff in the evenings, but it doesn't bother me because usually that work is like feels a little bit more fun than the stuff I do during the day. So, but I try not to work that much in the evenings.
That's probably good. I'm trying to do that too, you know, but
it's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think there's like seasons of a startup too. If I think back on the journey, we've been at it for like 4 years. Every 6 months, it feels like substantively different. It's like a new chapter of it. So yeah, I think that in the previous 6 months, I was like doing a lot of late night working and then I, you know, started to realize I wasn't working so well for me. So I'm going to try something new. If we go into a phase where I have to work late into the evening again, I certainly will. You know, you got to do what it takes in startup world.
Whatever it takes.
Pretty much.
How do you balance being creative with also having routine and structure? Because I think it's like whatever it takes, but then also like, what does that look like? Especially because there's not a lot of structure, right? Like in terms of doing a startup, you don't have that fixed schedule with someone telling you what to do, when to do it. And you're also building Focus Space, which does give people more of that structure.
My motivations these days are at the stage we're in, obsession with the product, and I can't stop thinking about Focus Space. And like we're at the point in our journey now, you know, we have a good amount of people using it, and so I'm like very aware of the parts of the product design that need improvement at all times. Like I have like a long list, and I'm obsessed with improving it, and I'm obsessed with building something that people want to continue to use. So obsession, desperation. I mean, in this economy, you got to do whatever it takes to make it work. So desperation is a great motivator. Passion too, like our mission, where, you know, not every startup is like mission driven per se, but you know, ours, I truly believe that we are building something that's benefiting people. And we get like love letters from customers every week telling us the ways that it's helped them. Plenty of emails telling them about product things that need improvements too, don't get me wrong. But lots of positive notes from them. So I'm really passionate about our mission. And then in terms of like structure and routine and tools, I mean, I very much use Focus Space to build Focus Space. So like the sweet spot of it is helping you figure out what goals you can accomplish in a given day that will actually move the needle, and being realistic about those. So we actually don't let people set more than 5 goals per day. Our app says like, no, you can't do that. So, you know, it really helps me get realistic and prioritize. And then basically I ask myself like, okay, if I finish these 3 things or these 5 things by the end of today, am I going to feel like I did what was important today? So I use our tools to set goals every day. And then I do go to our live co-working sessions. For one, I mean, it's good for me to be in touch with the product that people are using, but also it like actually helps me, like having the social motivation and the timer and like the whole thing we built. So I really use those. And I also use our wake up calls, which are like the morning planning sessions that help you kind of go through the process of setting goals. And also they like end with a meditation or a stretch or something. So I always find that my days feel more positive when I start with it. So luckily I'm building a tool to help me get shit done. So that helps.
That's
I
like
need the structure.
perfect. It's like almost like me like building the thing and then I would use it too. So
Yeah.
it's like a good cycle.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to be, if you're a startup founder, to be building something that, you know, you have some empathy for the problem or some understanding for why the solution would help. Then of course you have to balance that with remembering that you are not everybody. And then the more users you have, you know, the more there will be people using it in different ways and for different reasons than you. So you just have to have some humility that like, just because I want something in the app to be a certain way does not mean that everyone does. So you have to be like honest with yourself. But it's a great starting point to be able to like have some intuition about the problem and solution and then some empathy for your users. I think it's really helpful.
Like finding that balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take on introversion versus extroversion and where do you feel like you are on that spectrum? Because actually, now that I think about it, I feel like you're such a social butterfly, but I can also see you being really introspective and recharging alone.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that maybe it's something I used to think was more fixed, but I think now it's like very context dependent for me. And I like was extremely shy in high school and in early college to some extent. I actually got a job as a barista in college. Well, one, because I needed the money, but two, because I wanted a job that would like force me to learn how to talk to other people my age. I took that job to like deliberately put myself in the hot seat. So anyways, I think I have more of those like abilities, and also like I do love people so much. I also have a busy mind, like with a lot of things bouncing around in it, and I love my creative projects. And I used to think I was like definitely an introvert, and then I've had seasons where I'm like, oh, maybe I'm like totally an extrovert. And yeah, now I'm just like, it depends, like in the seasons of life.
It's like,
but I prefer like one-on-one and small group interactions for sure. Yeah, parties are pretty challenging for me. There's like too many conversations I'm like hearing at once and very overstimulating because I'm like paying attention to everything and all the social dynamics and all of that. It's like a lot. So it's hard for me.
yeah, I relate to that.
Because I hate being in a social situation and not being able to give people my full presence. So I'm like, okay, if I can't be a good participant, then I gotta go home and draw.
How do you like know when you're like, can you tell when you're switching between more introvert versus extrovert mode, or like what are the signs?
Well, I'll like crash out at a party. I'll just be like simply brain dead, like dumb, like can't.
Simply done.
Simply dumb, simply done. Yeah, I just like won't be like able to even like sustain a conversation and then I'm like, okay, we're like the gears are crunching up now. Time to go. Other times it's like it's fun to sink into like a quiet time season, like this drawing thing I'm telling you about. And now I'm like, okay, well, every night I have to go home and work on the drawing. That's what I do now. I'm a person who goes home and draws now. I don't know if that maybe that'll just last for another couple of weeks, but that's who I am now.
Do you draw too, even if you don't feel like it? Is it a practice that you, or is it more?
Right now I'm really into it. So
yeah.
So we'll see how long it lasts. I struggle with routine and like with maybe what some people would call self-discipline. I think I'm a very hard worker, and I like, if I start something, I don't quit, but I don't force myself.
This is so interesting.
Are you like that too?
I'm so like that because I've been trying so hard because I think I'm a hard worker too. I know I'm a hard worker.
I know you are. I've seen.
I push, but also I don't feel disciplined sometimes. I sometimes I feel like I'm just really lazy because I'm not necessarily, like, I'm not super consistent sometimes. For example, the posting every day thing, that's really hard for me to do because sometimes I'll have more creative fluctuations, and then sometimes I have more periods where I just need quiet and to be away from things.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to understand and be with the energy is something I'm still trying to figure out. But like, I relate to you, like sometimes just like practicing every day is difficult because it's like the dopamine isn't there. Or have you, okay, this might be like a total conspiracy theory, but I read somewhere about this, like, you know how there's like early risers and night owls? I read somewhere that there's this, like, some people are wired to be more of like hunters, and some people are more wired to have the more stable like farming life. Not that one is better than the other, but the way that the hunter mindset is wired is that you start at like a lower dopamine level. I don't know. This probably all just sounds like super gibberish, but I relate a lot to that because I get a lot of like adrenaline from having tight deadlines and having pressure and responding to like almost like emergencies. Like I could pull like 3 or 4 all-nighters in a row to complete something, but then I might crash for like the next week. I don't know if that's relatable at all, but
yeah, I think there's so much about the human brain that we do not understand. And I think even like a lot of the science around dopamine is still developing, and there's like different opinions about it. And, you know, ADHD is having a moment. We definitely know that because like focus space, we're in that space, in that area too. So I don't really know, but I think like whatever ways of thinking about working with yourself and not against yourself, whatever ways of understanding yourself so that you can get the best out of yourself makes sense to you, then I think that is helpful. I also think that things change throughout the lifespan of like how you work and how you operate. I mean, when I was your age, I did a lot more all-nighters and stuff like that. And now it like fucking wrecks me. I can't do that anymore. So that's changed. I take like a growth over fixed mindset over anything in life. Like I used to have a lot of things where I told myself like, oh, this is how I am. And then later I'd be like, oh, that's not how I am. That's how I was then. And now I'm a different way. But point being, like, if you're getting good work out of yourself that you're proud of and you're not destroying yourself in the process, then I think it's fine to be a night owl. It's fine to be an early riser or a hunter or a gatherer, like whatever it is. And like it might change, and that's fine too.
I think maybe a lot of it is acceptance.
I think so. Yeah. There's like many things that I used to beat myself up about, and like then I just like came to accept that I have like a messy style. Like I'm a messy designer. I've said that word before, that phrase to people before, and like what I mean by that is like, I don't know, my path to getting there, it might look like there's no sense there, and then it's just like a bunch of random shit coming together, but like in the end I think that my results are good. And obviously, and I also work with people who have strengths where I'm weak. That's another thing that is like super important. But the things that are weak could be perceived as weaknesses, like are also strengths. Like I'm pulling inspiration from a lot of different places and looking broadly across. I think that's useful in a design process. I accept that I'm a weirdo. That's just what it is.
I accept that you are a weirdo too.
Thank you. That is my love language, like we just talked about.
It all comes back in a full circle. With that said, thank you for listening to us yap today. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for visiting my house.
Like and subscribe.
Please.
If you're still watching, we love you. We're going to be right here refreshing the comment section every 2 seconds.
We will notice your thumbs up.
We will. We will see you. We will take your feedback into account. You will be seen and heard here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll be right here all night.
No, she needs to go to bed.
Yeah, I do. Okay, cut. How is it?
So fucking good.